Hello, everyone. Welcome to the very first episode of the Office podcast. I am your host, Asan. Very excited to get this project off the ground. Very, very excited to be talking about my favorite show. I've literally been a massive fan of The Office for well over a decade now. I've watched one episode a day, probably every single day without fail for the last 10 years. And it was only right that I'd come through and talk about my favorite show, man. Honestly, it's the perfect show. It's the perfect comedy. It's definitely top 5 shows of me of all time in any kind of genre. And it's just such an easy watch. And like I said, I had to come through and talk about it. I know there's literally millions and millions of people that enjoy the show as much as I do. And this series or this podcast as a whole will look to break down The Office, what really makes it the great show that it is. And I'll be discussing a variety of different topics on the show, like the episodes, what they meant, some of the fan theories behind some of the characters. And as I said, man, it's been a solid show. I know it's been around for more than 10 years now, I believe. And, you know, when I was in university, during my highs and lows, during my time where I was busiest to the times where I had nothing to do, The Office played a big part of my life, man. I used to sit in my halls of residence back in 2010, and when I was doing assignments, when I had preparations for my lectures, I would be sitting watching an episode of The Office. And I don't know, it felt right. It felt right that I talked about the show. I've wanted to do this for a very long time. I didn't know what angle to approach this at, and it was only right that I came through in the form of a podcast. I think everyone is doing podcasts now. They're very easy, very easily digestible. So I thought, why not? Why not do this? And again, you have the elite lineup of characters in the show. Michael Scott, of course, the legend. Jim Halpert, Dwight Schrute, Pamela Beasley, who I'm not too fond of, but we'll get into that. And all of the other amazing characters, including my favorite, Kevin Malone, which, by the way, I only discovered very recently that there was a deleted scene, and he came up with a business idea which was called Malone's Cones. So we're going to delve into that probably in another episode and just kind of dissect and break down all of these characters and what makes them such amazing people to watch, and how the character development was one of my favorites of all shows. I think starting from season 1, where it was very much a like for like of the UK version, and how by season 9 it was its own beast. And all of the characters over that time developed in totally different ways. Michael Scott with his silly haircut in episode 1, going from that to having beautiful hair and a beautiful style, and even the way he spoke, his mannerisms, everything changed. And I think it's very interesting in a show like that, where you have so much that you could get wrong, but also so much you could get right. And I think the writers of the show were geniuses. I think John Krasinski, aka Jim, was right to call them out about them potentially messing up the show, because he loved the UK one so much. And again, a reason why I love the show is because it genuinely is such an easy watch. Any episode you put on, you can enjoy. There are a list of stinky episodes that I didn't really like, but even those ones you can watch and have a bit of a laugh. And again, like I said, there's millions of people out there that enjoy The Office, so hopefully this podcast will bring you value. Hopefully it's something that will bring you some sort of entertainment. And hopefully in the future, man, if this podcast takes off the way I'd like it to take off, I could probably get some of the cast on here for an episode and for a chat. But we'll see how that goes. Just to kind of introduce myself firstly. So I said my name was Asan. I'm a rapper. I actually make music. I'm a recording artist. And this is like my side project. Like, when I'm not in the studio, and when I'm not writing, and when I'm not trying to be creative and make content, The Office is my bag. Like, that's all I'll ever watch. And I thought, like I said, why not make a podcast? But mainly because this is the other thing that brings me joy. It doesn't bring my wife joy. She hates the fact that I watch The Office every single day. She laughs along when there's funny episodes on, but I had to come through and make a podcast, and hopefully she'll listen to these episodes. These are dedicated to you, my wife. But nah, for real, like she'll watch an episode here and there to please me. But again, it's not everyone's bag. The Office is not everyone's cup of tea. Some people prefer the UK version. I don't actually prefer it. Like, I love the US version. The UK version for me is very funny, but I think because I watched it very late on, I was quite young when it originally came out. I must have been like 11 or 12, I guess. So I wasn't really old enough to watch it. I remember I watched one episode with my cousin. I think he illegally let me watch it. I think he was just old enough to watch, and then I remember he showed me a quick episode, and I didn't get it. Like, he laughed his head off. I didn't get it, and I think from there it kind of it planted that seed in my head where it was like, nah, I'm not really messing with this show. But then, of course, the US version came out, and I don't even remember how I started watching it. I remember it was on the UK Netflix to start off with, but they took it down, man. I was angry because it was only season 7 when Michael had left, and season 8 and 9 were only premiering in the US at the time, so there was no way in the UK to watch it. I think only on Comedy Central, but I was in uni, so I couldn't watch it at university. I didn't have Sky, so I couldn't watch it. So I was a little bit salty about that. And in all fairness and in all honesty, I didn't know there was a season 8 and 9. Like, when season 7 finished and they took it off Netflix, that was it. Like, I didn't know that the show existed past season 7. So again, why I wasn't aware that it was on Comedy Central and all these other places is because I didn't know about it. But then I believe when I came back from university, I randomly Googled it, and it had season 8 and 9. So I thought it finished after 7 when Michael Scott had left. Clearly not. They had 2 more strong seasons. So I had to watch them. And in the meantime, I was just watching old episodes. Like I said, I watched an episode every day for the last 10 years. So I was watching old episodes. And I think, to be honest, my favorite season is probably like season 3, where I believe that's when Jim comes back to Scranton. Or is it the season he goes to? I think it's the same season. The season he goes and comes back. That's my favorite kind of season. I like the transition, the new characters that were introduced. And yeah, I really enjoyed the character development, how these characters completely changed from season 1. Like, season 1, Jim was just very dull, very boring, as was Michael Scott, as was the whole cast. And I think they really had to ramp up their character development. And I know I keep talking about character development, but it's such a integral part of the show, because without that, you would just have a boring show. I think every single character played their role extremely well. Even those that weren't in it for very long, I think they played it very, very well. And as I said, man, it's been a strong show. If thinking about it now, I think my least favorite season was probably season 9. Even though season 1 was slow, as was a little bit of 2. The last season wasn't my favorite. I mean, they had some great episodes, but in terms of ones I've revisited on a regular basis, season 9's not one of them. I mean, I love the fact that Michael Scott comes back briefly for one episode, but I didn't like it. It was a very strange season, and it made me hate Pam a lot. Like, I'm going to get into the whole Pam beef, but I really didn't like Pam as a character. I'm sure Jenna Fisher is a very nice lady, but Pam as a character annoys me. Every time I see her on screen, she just annoys me, and it only annoyed me when I saw what she was like in season 9. Like, for real, I've got beef with Pam. It's on site if I ever see you, Pam. But nah, for real, like, yeah, I didn't like her as a character. If there was any character in the show I didn't really like, it was Pam. But as I said, I'll delve into that a little bit more in future episodes. But again, this was just a little brief introduction as to why I'm doing this podcast and what I hope to achieve from it. And that literally is just to entertain those that have enjoyed the show. Like I said, I'm sure it plays a very, very big role in the lives of people. I know there's celebrities that watch it every single day as well, because it is such an easy watch. And for those of you that are listening and haven't seen it, I apologize for the spoilers already. But secondly, if you haven't watched it and you want a really good, easy watching show, I would definitely go for The US Office. I mean, it's got everything you could possibly want from a comedy. The fact that, it's set up as a documentary following the lives of people in an office is absolutely crazy. And I think is one of the smartest things that the producers have done for this show. The way that they can talk to the cameras freely. It definitely wouldn't work if it was like a normal drama or a normal comedy. It just wouldn't work. I think it would get worse before it got better. And right now, the formula they had was amazing. And of course, there's rumors of maybe doing a reunion, maybe coming back, maybe a Kevin origin story, which, by the way, I'd love to see. Kevin Malone was my favorite character. If I haven't mentioned it already, by the way, he was my favorite character of the whole series. He just went from strength to strength. And the fact that I found that delete scene the other day makes me even more excited about this podcast. I mean, Malone's cones was a brilliant idea. And if I was that bank that refused him the loan, man, I would be... I would have missed out on a great business opportunity, because Kevin Malone is a legend. And shout out to my wife, because she got him to record a video for me for my 30th birthday, which was crazy. So I got to see Kevin Malone wish me a happy birthday, which was monumental. Even as much as I love Steve Carell, John Krasinski, and all the other characters, it had to be Kevin wishing me happy birthday. And maybe one day I'll share the message with you, but it was a very nice message from old Kevin Malone. But as I said, guys, this is just a brief introduction into what this series is going to be about. Like I said, just dissecting characters, breaking down episodes, which were my favorites, why I think certain characters were cast the way they were, why I think certain episodes were created the way they were, and the fact that, the cast on the show were the writers for some of these episodes, which was incredible. I mean, Mindy, aka Kelly, some of her episodes were my favorite episodes of the whole series. I know Jim wrote a couple, and obviously BJ Novak, which is Ryan, wrote quite a few as well. But yeah, I think the Kelly episodes were my favorite. But I digress. As I said, brief intro. Whatever platform you're listening to this on, I really appreciate if you could share this. Share it with your friends, anyone you think would like an Office podcast. I'm not sure how often these episodes will be going out. My intention is to get at least 2 out a week, depending on my schedule, but I'm praying and hoping I can do more. And again, I think once I can get someone on here regularly, it'd be really nice to talk The Office. And, whether it's people from the show or whether it's fans, I'd love to sit down with people and just discuss a show that literally has made me laugh for over 10 years. And a show I believe I'll be watching until my old age. And hopefully a show I will be introducing to my kids at some point when I have kids and when they're old enough. But guys, thank you very much for listening to this introduction to the Office podcast. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you got a little bit of an insight as to why I'm doing this. And hopefully this will be a long journey down the podcast road. And hopefully I can bring you joy through these podcasts and help you bring to light some of the reasons why I love the show and why millions across the world love the show. Thank you for listening. I'll catch you again on the next one. Peace and love. Take care of yourselves.